You may have seen that guy who escaped from HMP Wandsworth, he's actually pleaded not guilty to escape, which is interesting, but I'm not going to comment on the merits of any particular case, obviously. But it gives me an opportunity to chat about, what is the offence of escape and what are the likely or possible sentences. And here I would like to thank Anthony James of Mountford Chambers, because I'm basically ripping off a really good article he wrote about this. I'll pretend that I knew it anyway. But what is the offence of escape? Well, there are 4 elements to it, 4 limbs, as we say. D was in custody, and that can be prison or the police station. He knew he was in custody. I can't read this, I've got a big light shining in my face. He knew he was in custody, or he was reckless as to whether he should have known he was in custody or not, which is a bit of a weird one. The custody was lawful. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be guilty of an offence. It just means they have to be being held lawfully. And the escape was deliberate and intentional. So Fletcher and Godber in that episode of Porridge, technically speaking, they didn't actually escape, although I can see why they might have thought that the prison officers might have disagreed with them. When it comes to sentencing, there are no sentencing guidelines on this, but there are some cases. And the key case separates the offences into 2 sort of broad categories. There's organised escapes with the assistance of outside help, but then there's also just sort of doing it of your own volition, and especially where there is pressure to escape. Say, for instance, somebody wants to get home for a child's birthday or something like that. When it comes to the sentencing, they treat the sort of planned and assisted ones far more seriously than these sort of more opportunistic ones. I mean, if somebody's in an open prison or out on day release and they just decide to go on the lam, obviously it is treated seriously, but not as seriously as sort of the highly organised planned ones of sort of rope ladders over the wall, etc., etc. And to give you some examples, sentences have ranged from everything for a few months to multiple years, and obviously that sentence is consecutive to any other sentence that you are facing. So in this particular case, let's, I won't say this particular case, let's say a hypothetical case where somebody did hide under a van. If it's argued it's just opportunistic and sort of, just saw an opportunity and went out there, then that arguably might be in the lower bracket. If it turns out there was some sort of assistance, then that'll be in the higher bracket. You also get quite a discount if you sort of, turn yourself in, if they don't actually have to come and find you. So say, for instance, you've escaped for one particular reason, somebody's birthday party or something like that, and then you walk to the police station afterwards and say, it's me, you'll still be getting extra time inside. And this is regardless of whether you're convicted or not for the offence you're actually, inside for. I mean, you might be a serving prisoner, but this also applies if you're on remand. Why might people fight this? Sometimes it's actually worth it, because there have been cases where people have been prosecuted for escape, but there's no real dispute they have escaped, but the Crown have forgotten to sort of, bring the relevant paperwork to prove that the person was actually lawfully in custody in the first place. So, arguably it's always worth a punt. Anyway, if you found that useful or interesting, please consider clicking the like button, subscribing and sharing.